The year of our Lord, 1986. Filmation, the TV studio responsible for shows like Star Trek the Animated Series and He-Man, began production on an animated feature targeted as a follow-up to the Grimm brothers' fairy tale of Snow White, particularly the Disney cartoon. During development, the company faced many legal issues with the Disney Company, calling the project and others Filmation had plans for blatant rip-offs of previous Disney works. Following the disputes, Filmation promised their characters would not resemble the ones from the Disney cartoon. The film was finally completed in 1988 and was set to release in the US in 1990, but in '89, Filmation went out of business. It came to France in 1990, but its US release wasn't until 1993, published by First National Film Corporation. That company also went bankrupt weeks after its release. The bankruptcy of both companies might have something to do with how much money the film lost due to low box office scores, which was partly caused by the fact that it was released around the same time as the re-release of the Disney cartoon, as well as the fact that it was poorly received critically. What's the problem with Happily Ever After? One thing at a time here. First, the plot. Lord Malice, the brother of the evil queen, aims to get revenge on Snow White for the death of his sister. Snow White and her prince were on their way to the cottage of the seven dwarfs so they could invite them to their wedding. However, the two get separated and she stumbles across the cottage of the seven dwarfs, only to find that it is currently inhabited by their cousins, the seven dwarf elves.
Yeah, looks like your tourists are in another kingdom.
In this film, Snow White is made more of a protagonist, and I appreciate their attempts, but the execution just turns out poorly, mainly for the fact that she's just throwing herself into danger throughout the film. Wouldn't you think that after the events of the first story, she would have grown some sense after 3 attempts made by the queen to kill her? First with laced bodices, then with a magic comb, then a poison apple. Now the next time Snow White is in danger is because she's doing it to herself, being fully aware of what lies ahead of her. Sure, she is aware the prince is in danger and wants to help him out, but that's not really the task of a princess, not to mention one that has been forced to work as a maidservant for 10 years and... You get the idea. Malice, despite his cliched motivation, does sound like he could be a cool character. He could turn into a dragon and use all sorts of magic. However, he doesn't use these powers to his full advantage in order to get what he wants. At one moment, he just sends out some wolves he has to capture Snow White. Why? In another moment, he's chasing Snow White and she escapes into the forest. He decides to just give up the chase on her and go after the prince. Seriously? Ever heard of shrinking back to your human form and continuing the chase from there? He's so specific about how he wants his revenge to be complete. It makes me wonder if he's supposed to be some sort of ancestor of Tom Sawyer, coming up with unnecessary yet elaborate ways to accomplish his goal. I don't know about you, but if I was a sorcerer who wanted revenge on someone for the death of my sister, I wouldn't care how I killed her. I just want it done. The seven dwarf elves, while they don't bear any physical resemblance to Disney's seven dwarves, have personalities that are quite similar. If that's not enough to bother you, they were given the right to elemental powers by Mother Nature, for whatever reason. What kind of goddess would Mother Nature be to give the seven dwarf elves those types of powers? The worst of the seven has got to be Thunderella, who is supposed to be controlling thunder and lightning. I say supposed to because she hasn't yet learned to control her powers and is belittled by the other dwarf elves and lacks self-confidence. Just another little something to add to the cliché list. This is a perfect example of filmmakers not even trying to correctly create a cute character. I know that's hard, but this is just inexcusable. She isn't even close to being the worst character in the whole film, though. It's actually these two, an owl named Scowl and a bat named Batso. If you never heard of this film and I told you that these two are the worst comic relief you'd ever hear of in a motion picture, you'd think I'm crazy, but it's true. Not only are they super annoying, but they serve no purpose whatsoever. They just have a subplot that doesn't get you interested at all, nor does it have an actual connection with the real plotline we should be following. As terrible as the main focus is, I think I prefer that over watching those two imbeciles. Scowl is a real bad birdie, and he just does not want you to forget it. Seriously, just poke your finger with a sewing needle every time these two say the word bad, whether during a musical number or not. That's another problem, the musical numbers. They're pointless. This was originally among a line of direct-to-video Disney sequels not published by Disney that were going to be released until Disney put a stop to Filmation's evil plots. So it would be fair to expect a musical, but they made sure to choose the most unfitting music styles possible. You get one in rap, which is horrible, one in the style of an 80s pop song by Cyndi Lauper, which is almost as bad, then one with a more jungle vibe, which fits better than the other two, but is pretty forgettable. There's only 3 songs in the whole film, minus the one at the end credits, and they're all played in the first half of the movie. It's like it's not even trying to be a musical. Well then what's even the point of having songs in the first place? If there's one thing I could tolerate in this film, it's the animation. It looks pretty good, but it's not up to the quality of Disney or Don Bluth, and the backgrounds don't stand out. Other than that, it's got some okay animation. Just about everything else in this movie falls flat. The humor, the story, the characters, the songs. It's predictable, dull, and at times can be very annoying. It's shocking how many voice talents it squandered, such as Malcolm McDowell, Edward Asner, Tracey Ullman, Carol Channing, and Dom DeLuise, among many others, but I'm only listing a few of them. The most shocking part is how much merchandising they were doing to tie in with the film. In the film's VHS release, they played a bunch of ads before the end credits actually started. I wouldn't mind so much if that advertisement was actually at the beginning of the tape instead of in the middle of the actual runtime. If you've watched some of my videos, you'd also know that there was even a video game tie-in. Well, after the film's failure. I'm convinced that all this advertisement was intended by Filmation so they could put themselves out of business. If so, then mission accomplished. I hope you're proud of yourselves. It's disappointing that this film ruined a TV company that made some good shows, but if they're going as far as merchandising, not to mention some video game industries foolishly thinking the film was a hit, or at least going to be a hit, then they deserve what they get. This film is horrible. It's not one of the worst films I've seen, but it's coming pretty dang close.